I think next what we'd like to talk about is obviously you guys received the large grant for the Safe Streets program. Roads, you guys, well known, a lot of potholes. So if we could talk about, how far do you think that money is going to go? Is it going to solve the problem? Is it just a small dent? What are your thoughts, your plans on how best to spend the money on the roads, and or maybe what else to do to address some of the road issues? Again, if we can kind of just keep the rotation moving through and go this time, Jim, Mike, and then wrap up with Kim.
I've had an opportunity to speak to a lot of people in North Kelso about the street issue and the basic infrastructure issues out there. First of all, that $700,000 that came into the city or is coming into the city, that's going to really improve things in North Kelso in terms of getting kids safely to Huntington and to Barnes. There's going to be opportunity to do a lot of basic street, not only resurfacing, but problem solving out there. And anybody that's ever driven in North Kelso knows that some of those potholes are probably 30 years old. It's not because the city didn't want to repair them, it's simply because the money wasn't there. So primarily, that money is going to go towards the safety of our children, and it's going to really help things out there. But it's not going to go that far. We need a lot more money. And what I really hope for is that we can engage our state senators, our federal, our U.S. Senate folks, our Jamie Herrera, in getting additional monies brought into the city. North Kelso desperately needs a lot of infrastructure. I mean, there are real problems out there that we need to solve. We've done a pretty good job on West Main, West Kelso, and I applaud everything that's happening there. South Kelso has traditionally been sort of the focus of city council attention, understandably so. We've made progress, but we've got to remember this community, North Kelso, West Kelso, South Kelso, we're all one community. And the 700,000 is a big number, but it's not going to go far enough to solve the problems. We have got to find where we can get additional funding, and that's only going to come through cooperation with our state and federal representatives and making the point to them. I mean, earmarks are going to be really helpful potentially for us, but we got to concentrate on developing a relationship with those folks and getting their attention about what our needs are. And Andy Hamilton has done an incredibly good job, by the way, of looking into all the possible sources for additional monies out there. So I'm optimistic, but nevertheless, I'm very aware of what the need is. But the truth of the matter is we can make significant improvements in the infrastructure in the city, but only if we have state and federal help.
Mike?
So Jim's right about the $700,000. That's going to make a significant improvement for students getting to schools, a safe route to schools. We do need some more money. It's South Kelso, North Kelso, but it's also, as we heard at the last council meeting, it's people that live on the hills on the east side of I-5. There's some significant issues there. So it's always difficult, and it seems like that's one thing that you always get somewhat behind on is the regular maintenance of your infrastructure. We do need some help on streets. Jim's right, we need to look for state and federal money. There's some state programs that if we can really focus on what the streets for. There's the Transportation Improvement Board that has money from the state. There's a Freight Mobility Strategic Investment Board. So if we can say a street is key to freight mobility, we can go after those funds. The county has rural economic development funds. So if we can tie a street improvement to economic development. So there are other sources of money. Andy's been looking at other sources of money, and I think the city has done a good job in stretching their money the best they can, but we do need some outside help with federal and especially state funding and maybe even some county funding by saying, okay, this street is a key to economic development, this street is key to freight mobility, and go after some other sources of money.
Excellent. Kim?
On the council, I have a great big wish list. And I wish that we could fix all of the roads because people really have a hard time with it. So the $700,000 is going to be really, really great. I live in West Kelso, so I'm living with the nightmare of everything being shoved around and roads not open and this road closed, but it's going to be great when it's done. It'll really make a good deal, and hopefully we can start working on North Kelso at that time and getting things together for them.